Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monacelli with another episode of my podcast, Multiple Voices. Today, I have with me another medium like myself, Carlos the Medium. Carlos, please say hello to our audience.
Hi, Claudia. Hi, everyone.
Carlos is talking to us from Washington, D.C. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He calls himself an evidential medium, and I will lead with that, Carlos, as I said, so you can explain that. He's a psychic and a spiritual teacher. He has a natural and sensational ability to connect with those who are now in spirit. And besides being known as a medium for helping his clients obtain healing closure, he's also a person who provides life direction to many who seek his services using his psychic and intuitive abilities. He started recently mentoring and teaching his psychic mediumship, and we'll also talk about that. And expertise that he has cultivated for himself over his many years of study. So when he was a young boy in his early 20s, I'm sure this would be better coming out of your mouth, Carlos, but let me give you this anyway. In his early 20s, he experienced and overcame very chronic health issues. And we all hear this, that spiritual awakenings or change in someone's spirituality occurs with something dire, when something negative happens. And these lessons eventually led him to experience a near-death experience. And that changed his outlook on life. And ultimately, it was also those painful moments and lessons that provided him with hypersensitivity that is needed to become a medium and cultivated the passion needed to be of service to others. He's a father, a military veteran, and he's also an ordained minister in divine metaphysics and is a certified medium with the United Metaphysical Churches headquartered in Roanoke, Virginia. He currently serves as a minister and medium at Arlington Metaphysical Chapel in Arlington, Virginia. Now, here we are. Now we get down to the nitty-gritty. Now, have you always lived in the area, Washington, D.C. area?
On and off, yes. I was raised there. I migrated to the country when I was 4.5, 5. And I was there all my life. And I spent some time in the military when I was 18. And then I came back afterwards and spent a few years. And I went down to school down in Florida, and then for a few years, and then came back up here again.
And this type of work often is handed down from generation to generation. Do you know of anyone in your family who has had these types of skills?
I would say yes, but not to the degree of doing this, exercising this either in a professional or maybe not professional manner.
Usually it's done for the family and friends and hushed, especially in Latin American countries and in Italy as well. We have this. Now, what do you mean when you say evidential mediumship?
So with evidential mediumship, your aim is to connect with the spirit for the client, and provide some evidential, factual information that they can take or relate in reference to that spirit that you're connecting with. Sometimes the what you're receiving the information with your senses, the client may not be able to understand or put together, but that's the whole basis of the point, is to provide something that provides that the afterlife continues and there's proof of existence.
Can you give me an example? Because I get it and I don't get it. When you, let's say there are many different types of mediums, there are mediums who are completely overcome and speak in the voice of the person who has passed. And there are other, now I can't remember the names, but do you, when you say that sometimes it's confusing, can you give me an example of, once that occurred to you?
Absolutely. I mean, it happens regularly, but for example, I recently, let's say one quick example that comes to mind is I connected for a client and their loved one, it must have been a relative of theirs. And, he passed away in some type of motor vehicle accident, which is, you could say, common, right? But what he was relating to the person that I was reading for was that there was a helmet of his on top of the refrigerator, but he kept specifically on the refrigerator of theirs. He kept pointing to the top of the refrigerator. And she didn't tell me this, but later on she mentioned to me that they had a helmet of his that was on top of the refrigerator, and only they knew. So that's something that is evidentially proving that the soul has crossed over and is present with them, and recognizing the fact that what the act that they've done to honor that person.
Okay. Has it ever occurred to you that the spirit did not did not come in contact, or did not want to communicate with your client?
Oh, in that case, or in other cases, you mean?
No. In any case.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes communication is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And if the spirit is not ready to communicate, or perhaps the person receiving the reading is not ready to hear from their loved one, it can happen as well.
Yeah.
It also can happen that the medium, in any case, it may misinterpret the message or the communication, or they're unable to pick up the subtle vibrations of that spirit and miss it. It's happened.
Give me an example of what you mean.
Oh, here. Absolutely. You may see a vision of someone very, very faintly, and it's the father. And the father may be showing you that, for example, just giving you a quick example, the father, you may see a vision of a doctor with a stethoscope.
Right.
And that's all you see, and you bypass it and you just keep talking. And then, the person's like, well, I really wanted to connect with my father. And like, oh, well, I didn't hear or sense a father with you. And they're like, yeah, he was a doctor.
There you go.
And then you miss it. And then you're like, that was that person trying to communicate. And, because what they're doing is they're establishing a link, a connection. Once you establish that connection, you can get the conversation going. And sometimes you can miss it because we're human, and humans are subject to error.
Sure. Yeah. People forget we're human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Now let's talk about this very, very important occasion, this near-death experience. When did that occur? And what was the context?
This would have happened in 2006, let's say late 2006, if I can just refresh my memory. I was going through, I was having a lot of fatigue and tiredness and just brain fog, and I didn't know what was causing this.
Were you still in the military then?
No, I was not. I was not. And I was going through all that, and the doctors were trying to figure things out, but they couldn't figure things out. And I basically was I was driving in a car. And all of a sudden my heart started racing rapidly, very fast. And as my heart started racing very fast, I noticed that I no longer was in my physical body, present body. And all of a sudden I ended up somewhere that was a pitch black place. And as I was there, I was freaking out because I'm not in my physical body. And I thought I was in the process of someone called dying. And as I was in that place, physical or other place, I had a vision, but kind of like a screen come up, a reel of all the different life events in my life that were important and connected me to my family. And as I saw that, it went really, really quick. And I had this sense of profound love around me. And I felt this interconnected feeling with my loved ones that were living and past. And especially with those that I saw in the reel of visions, or in that film, if you will. And as I felt that and I saw that, I just felt how valued I was from this presence in this experience. And one thing that was very chilling was that as this was occurring, I heard a voice, and it said, that it wasn't time yet, and that there were still other things that needed to be done.
As you were talking, you made me think you're a father, correct?
Yes, I am.
Children?
Yes.
One, two,
one.
Okay. And it made me think of Well, they live in the family, and obviously
Sure.
you're their father, and
Sure.
obviously this is a big part of your life. And
Sure.
how old are they? Do you mind
They're
sharing?
21.
Okay, so they're adults, and
Yes.
they have say been able to judge for themselves or decide for themselves
Right.
what religious path or spiritual path
Sure.
they would like to. Because I was thinking, do you share with them your work and what you do?
I do. They know what I do professionally,
Yeah,
and spiritually, if you will.
yeah.
I don't share the ins and outs
Oh,
of.
of course not. No. But they do know
Yes.
what in any way do you think? I'm curious because I'm a third generation, and it
Right.
was never shared with me until
Sure.
after my parents passed. I found out,
Sure.
and I would have liked to know. It would have been nice for
Right.
me to have known when they were alive. But in this case, would do you feel that they could understand? Or they would be able to I don't want to say accept, but appreciate.
Yes, I believe so. Anything that is done with good intentions radiates good intentions out there,
Yeah,
and the work speaks for itself.
yeah,
And that being said, I feel my family is very proud of what I'm doing,
uh-huh. Hmm.
and I share the good progress I've made and over the years of starting from scratch
Yeah,
and following my calling,
yeah,
and they appreciate the work I am doing, and I don't know if they can relate or
yeah,
completely
yeah,
understand,
yeah.
but I think there's a inner feeling like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay,
That's,
so there is some kind of support you have.
yeah,
That's
that's
good.
pretty cool.
That's
That's
good.
unique. It's
Yeah,
different, but it's
yeah,
unique.
yeah, yeah. Oh, his dad. Oh, his dad.
Right, right, right. And
Right.
sometimes, their friends will say, "Hey, I want to get a reading," or
Yeah,
"Hey,
right,
that's
right. I
that's
know.
pretty cool,"
I
you know.
know. I get that all the
Yeah,
time.
or that's different, but
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah,
in awe or amazement.
yeah. When people talk of near-death experience or some form of accident or an
Sure.
illness, usually around that there is talk of spiritual awakening.
Sure.
What's that? What does that mean for you? Spiritual awakening?
It all depends on in the context of how someone uses it. It's thrown out there everywhere in different
Hmm.
ways, angles, and stuff like that. It's all subject to interpretation, and
Hmm.
it can be subjective. But spiritual awakening, I feel that it depends on the person. For
Hmm.
some person, it may
Well,
be just.
for you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it was finding my calling and accepting that calling and going
Mhm.
through with that spiritual awakening as a
So,
medium.
so does this mean that um because when we talk of calling, it's
Sure,
usually something that literally calls you, right?
sure.
And maybe you're an accountant and then you're being called too. In your case, was there something else that you were doing?
I was, at the time, you could say I was working in the military arena, and this was completely different to me. I had no clue or even insight that I would get into something that is into the paranormal or the holistic industry. So this was a divine calling for me, and to answer it. And I even when I did answer, I didn't know that I was going to be able to make ground and proceed in a very successful way in this manner and do this professionally. So even till this day, you sometimes are like, oh, this is interesting, this is different.
Mhm.
So following that calling is following your heart, and
Mhm.
there are ups and downs because the universe is dualistic in the journey, so metaphysically there. So it's been very much a interesting ride and
Mhm.
a unique path of unfoldment. Everyone unfolds differently, but for me, this was the
Mhm.
best way I can explain to you is once I got into those shoes of
Yeah.
doing this work,
Yeah.
the unfoldment, the journey, it's like a natural feeling. It's like something
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew,
Yeah.
something that's part of me,
Mhm.
and that's perhaps why the progress has been. not smooth at all times, but in a sense
Sure,
that
sure.
there's been
Well,
significant headway.
there's people like us. I mean, mediums do get a bad rap. Everyone is always testing.
Sure, of course.
People always want to test. And they
Of
always
course.
want some kind of results. Now,
Sure.
in this case, have you ever felt, there's this notion of the imposter syndrome. Have you ever doubted yourself to the point of thinking, well, did I really hear that? Or did I make that up? Or could it have been? Because some of the things that come up are so preposterous that are unbelievable.
Sure.
Has that ever happened to you?
I believe, of course, to have, that sense of questioning oneself is to be human.
Right.
As well as the left brain, the analytical, logical side is part of our existence. And there's two hemispheres to the brain, right? And so you do question yourself at times. Did I hear that? Did I sense that? Is this something that is this me, or is this spirit, or is this person's energy? And I feel that over time, with experience, your trajectory in soaking up and how you connect with spirit, and that will help you in discerning the energies and being able to pick up those discrete subtleties of how spirit communicates. And as that happens, you gain confidence, and with confidence comes mastery. And mastery doesn't occur in a year or two.
No, of course not.
It takes a lifetime.
Yeah. When people come to you in your, even in my introduction of you, you mentioned that people come to contact their loved ones who have passed to get emotional closure. I'm finding in my work, that's true. Obviously, that is true. But another part of the work is that their loved ones are being contacted so they could suggest to them, they ask them what they should do. For example, I have a bit of money, and this offer has been presented for me to purchase a house. There are two options. What do you give me? So it's sort of like fortune telling, asking the spirit does that happen to you?
Well, people will ask certain questions in regards to the trajectories of their future, if you will.
Right.
And that being said, the onus is ultimately on the person. The onus is ultimately on the person of what decisions they choose to make with their present life. Yeah. That being said, spirit's not going to take away the free will or the independent thinking and actions of the person. To do so would be spirit interfering with one's life.
Right. And what ultimately comes out in my work is that they will not even respond.
Of course.
Because we're human and we're here. We're incarnated to be able to experience emotions, and emotions are both positive and negative. Yes, I lost all my money, but look, I won the lottery. So there is. So this is interesting. Now, you did say that, or I said in my presentation of you, that you have started mentoring. Can you talk a little bit about that, how that comes about and how you structured this mentoring process?
Yes, it's been one of it's been the cherry on top of the mediumship journey, because I've been able to coach young aspiring mediums.
Only young?
Oh, young, middle-aged, older as well. But in a sense, when I say young, is those that are not as well seasoned, or just they're beginning to take the first few steps.
Okay, I see.
And that being said, it's been very interesting to work with people. But where have I taken that? How I put together the curriculum and different things of that nature. I've created online classes, and I provide them through Zoom, and to coach people and to help them understand mediumship and this type of work from a more practical place, but also teaching them that with certain tools and abilities that they have within them with their senses, they're able to learn how to distinguish and discern the subtleties of how spirit communicates.
And when you do this, are they ever one-on-one, or are they groups?
They're both. So I do mentor privately to students. either on Zoom or in person. But I also do most of my classes online.
Yeah.
And I have several students in them. We just completed a psychic development class for beginners. Last year we had a mediumship class, and then an evidential mediumship class. So different classes within mediumship for the psychic.
And how long do these last?
Usually we typically each class is 2 hours.
Good.
And we usually hold 4 sessions. So you're getting
4 sessions. You mean 4 times 2, 8?
Yeah, 8 hours worth of
once a week?
No, so 2 hours once a week. So times so 8 hours a month.
Okay, 8 hours in 1 month. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And
that's a good time for me.
We cover theory, instruction. We do Q&A, so questions amongst us. Conversation topics.
You give them homework?
Yes, they do have homework. But also at the end of the final class, we work on our abilities to understand, and so they can understand what it's like to be in the energy, what it's like to converse with spirit, and how to bring their energy up and bring it down.
Yeah.
And understanding
when you mean, excuse me, Carlos, when you say bring your energy up and bring it down, can you describe that a little more?
Absolutely.
Define it. Yeah.
So when we're connecting mediumistically, we are raising the vibration within our spiritual and physical body. The chakras are being raised. They're vibrating and rotating at a much higher frequency because spirit resides at an infinitely high frequency, if you will. And we are earthbound. So we're grounded, we're earthbound. So as we go up, we in spirit, we set the intentions that creates manifestation. And spirit lowers their vibration. We connect with them in the middle, hence the term mediumship or medium. And we make contact. So we go upwards in the chakras from the root to the crown.
Yeah.
And we're stimulating the chakras for communication. So we're in a much higher state of frequency with that connection. And so once we've established contact, we've done the reading or made the connections or grabbed the messages, we must come back down to the earth plane. So we must ground our energies again as well. So that's the whole process of going upward and going downward.
Have you ever experienced perhaps in the beginning, I would imagine, all of a sudden, you haven't thought of your psychic hygiene, let's say, I'll call it that. And all of a sudden you were hit with a load of negative energy because you come into contact with people even online. And that is very, very open. I mean, you're practically naked unless you protect yourself. Has that ever happened to you?
Where I've experienced negative energy from a session?
From both, either clients or during the work.
Yes. You're like you said, you're naked, you're vulnerable to energies, and you're vulnerable to the person you're connecting for, as well as a spirit. So there's an overlap of energy, that connection there that can prove to be, or it comes off residually to you. So you do have to learn to protect your energies, surround yourself with some light.
How does it manifest in you when you get an onslaught of negative energy? I don't know, you're in a hurry and you forget to do your ritualistic clearing or protection and grounding. How do you know after the call is over, the session is over, the class is over? What do you what occurs to you that oh dear, I've done it again,
I feel that when it does happen, and it's seldom, but when it does, it's you just feel very fatigued and worn out. You also may feel that you're picking up residually maybe the fears or other things of that spirit, or of not the spirit per se, but more the client. And so you may say, oh, do I really think this way? No, I don't think this way. This is not my way of thinking. No
form of physical danger, like you start falling or some kind of strange thing. Yeah. Okay. No. That's good. That's very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about haunted places, because when you talk about mediumship, it's always in relation to being in the middle of, a human, and you're straddling the both worlds.
Correct.
Haunted places. I do work with places, properties, businesses, and clear them. What is your experience with haunted places?
Well, each experience is very unique and
Yeah.
independent of itself.
Fascinating.
Right, absolutely. And one of the things I've experienced when I've gone to a haunted place is a lot of times those spirits are earthbound. They
Oh,
do
yeah.
not, yeah, they
Sure.
do not want to leave
Yeah.
the earth realm. They've crossed over from physical into spirit, but they're earthbound. And them being earthbound, they can be very stubborn,
Yeah.
and they are sometimes very possessive of
Hmm.
a certain area or belongings, or even territorial in that
Hmm.
aspect. You know, the one of the keys to realize is you obviously have to protect yourself with
Yeah,
intention
sure. Hmm.
and whatnot. But when you bring through love and good vibrations, it uplifts the vibration in that
Right.
immediate space. Yeah, you can use sage, but it's also very
It's 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 not inside sage. Sage is an
no.
outside.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's what you decide to bring to the table with your spiritual abilities and where you're coming from within the heart that
Yeah.
raises the vibration in that space. And as you communicate with the possibly an earthbound spirit there,
Hmm.
they may not understand that what they are actually doing and that they have.
Doing. Yeah. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
very confused. There's a lot of confusion there.
Mhm.
And when people, I'm not sure if this is the way it happens to you,
Sure.
people would contact me saying, look, I've had a negative experience in this location. I had to leave
Sure.
the premises. I
Sure.
would like to go back, but can you please control it for me, or can you clear it for me? And this, like yourself, I do it in person and at a distance. But when you find, I don't want to use the word infested, but it's the
Right.
best word that comes to my mind. What is the, because it's a question I don't even have to ask, but I
Right.
will ask.
Okay.
When you walk into the property, it's an immediate acknowledgement of what's going on, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
It is, and you'll immediately feel the energy feels all of a sudden dense,
Yeah.
heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's permeating around the room or the building,
Mm-hmm.
and you may feel unwelcomed to be
Yeah.
there.
Sure.
You'll immediate sense of being unwelcome, and that this place is not your belonging, and that this place is someone else's or a group of people's belonging.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, what do we have in Italian? There's an expression, il sogno nel cassetto, no? There's a drawer where you keep your little ideas for the future. What are
Sure.
we're working on it for the future. What is your dream? I mean, anything you would like to see yourself be doing?
Well, currently, just slowly working on creating an online curriculum for self-development classes on mediumship and
Uh-huh.
psychic abilities, and
Mm-hmm.
where someone can download them themselves without having to participate in live instruction in the
Mm-hmm.
classroom setting, and in PDF or interactive, media.
Okay, well then this will slowly develop, and I'm pushing it here into black on white. I mean, we're preparing a little book here, aren't we, Carlos?
Yes, we are.
Okay, you have to say yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for this wonderful, interesting conversation. Just let me give the audience where they can see your work and contact you. So
Sure.
your website is carlosthemedium, all attached.com. Instagram is Carlos the Medium, at Carlos the Medium. Facebook also Carlos the Medium, and TikTok Carlos the Medium. No, Facebook is Carlos the Medium 1. Why is that 1?
It's just what was available.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thanks again, Carlos. I hope that our paths will cross again.
Thank you so much, Claudia, for having me on your podcast and letting me be your guest.
Pleasure.
Very honored.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.